Yes, I can bump me in on it. It's like an old castle.
That doesn't transmit anything. But it indeed works. It is the mask used for the ultra-short wave experiments. So you're not going to fall.
It's not a sheer drop.
This was put on not that long ago, and this is part of a skyline campaign that the BBC had to get involved with to block the view of all the air conditioning plant. People around here didn't want to see air conditioning plants, so they put these in. So you see, in fact, on VHX as well, screening. It stops you seeing the air conditioning plant.
The air conditioning plant only arrived after the Legionella outbreak. Before that, all the plant was dealt with by wet cooling systems elsewhere in the building and take up much less space. So this is all a completely dry cooling system.
It is, and some of it's fairly new. It was only installed.
It's all since the outbreak in 1988.
Well, some of it was replaced about a year.
Indeed, yeah, relatively recently.
Just high quality aerials pointing at the
Check receivers.
That's the radio car. I got involved with a survey because I don't know if you know, but last Saturday we had a helicopter came and took some pictures. But it was only a little helicopter. It was a 6 foot wide helicopter with a film camera, and it did a sweep of the building for the turn-up right. Some woman is doing a project, and she's basically going to take the video and loop it round and round and round. And the helicopter starts over there, pointing at that tower, which is on the east side of the VHX. Sweeps around.
That's 1932, the original chimney.
And then come all the way back to the tower, and then they just cut it together.
With the aerial tower that remains. So,
and that's the original roof plan.
behind the mast is a chimney that was removed in the early 80s to make room for extensions on the third and fourth floor that became H30 and Newsbeat.
So that's 1932?
That's 32, yeah.
And this is now?
You'll see up on the left there's no building up there now, but now there's a mezzanine floor, and that's where those stairs go to a mezzanine floor which didn't exist.
Yeah.
And that was built top deck project.
Yes, yeah.
So I think
It's a corridor.
Go.
This is a key from the fire security watchmen who had to do regular tours of the building and had a clockwork device into which they had to put each key and record that they'd actually visited each space. You'll now see little readers on the perimeter walls. That's probably one. They kind of put an electronic thing on now. But in the old days, it was a key like that.
Say that again.
This is Studio
What
A.
is the studio?
This is Studio A, and it was originally, I think it was the brass band studio, believe it or not. Oh, they've gone into the... They've gone into the cubicle. That was the control cubicle when this studio was refurbished, but it wasn't the control cubicle when this studio existed.
This was all one room and double height.
Yes, it was
Yeah,
double
behind
height.
those windows,
Yeah.
for which someone's managed to operate the curtains and they couldn't. And that was the control room.
No, the studio did not have a control room.
Okay, then it's when it was type B.
Subsequently it had a control room, but initially it didn't
Yeah,
have a
and
control room. Because one of the quirks about studios and broadcasting house when BH was first built, none of them had control cubicles. There was no such thing as a studio manager sitting behind a desk twiddling knobs. All the knobs were twiddled in the control room.
All right. Yeah.
Everything was done remotely.
Yeah.
A most peculiar idea. I don't think I could have ever handled that.
Well, was it not, this might be apocryphal, was it not the illumination of the Fleet event which caused them to...
They created the continuities. Oh,
This building was first built, nor could you record it long enough to do an hour and a half, 2 hour radio play. So they would rehearse day after day after day and do the things live, using a suite of studios on the 6th and 7th floors, which have become what is now called 6A, or was called 6A, which is the old drama studio. In those days there were 3 studios on the 6th floor, 3 for the actors on the 7th floor. There was also a double height special effects studio as well. All of which led up to this large mixing desk here, the dramatic controls panel, at which sat the producer and who acted as the director, and a whole bunch of other people. And around the back, you can see there's a whole bunch of faders there. There's a single fader, rotary fader, and a meter, and that's where the techie sat. And they just overrode the levels. And basically, the job of the producer was to sit there and open up each one of these faders here, faded up with a single microphone in one of the studio boxes down in the 7th and 6th floors. There's an old film, it was called Murder in Broadcasting House, which is based on one of these plays going out. I think the plot revolves around somebody managing to be in 2 places at once or something during the making of one of these plays. But so this used to be the dramatic controls panel. Downstairs, just down there, is the spare, where you could go and rehearse as well.
And it was the one exception to the rule that I said earlier, where all the studios didn't have cubicles. They all were controlled by positions in the old control room. The drama studios were the only ones that were the exception, but they were still not part of the studio. They were well isolated from the studio.
And of course, just around the corner from the rehearsal position control room, which is there.
Yeah,
It was such a simple process that you had microphone, bit of wire, control room, bit of wire, transmitter.
That's it.
And to make sure nothing went on air, you had the rehearsal end here, so that when they had that really difficult thing of opening the microphone and then shutting it, they could rehearse it this end. And when it came to the transmission, they would walk down to the end of the control room just through there. And open it, and it goes straight to the mast. Fantastic. So complex. We should have stopped.
No continuity. Oh, up there, yeah, absolutely. That's what I was always thought it was as well.
Now that's a bit iffy, but as long as you take care. I don't want to hit your head.
The radio car receivers used to be up here.
Yes, they
didn't
did.
Was this just a legend?
Yes. Arthur Askey, when he was doing his old radio programs, always used to talk about the flat that he had in Broadcasting House.
It's a famous
And
part
that
of building
was
history.
it. It was never really Askey's flat, but he used it. This is where I was, and I have to say, in BH there's always a bit of poking on because strictly really Askey's flat didn't even exist. But, you know, people were big things like that. And I was always told this was it.
Yeah, I think that certainly fits with what I learned when I first joined.
Go out the door in BH reception which says studios, and everybody that I know has looked at that and said, but there are no studios through there. Well, yes, it was the way to the studios. You went into the artist lobby and you'd come up on these lifts, and of course you'd open out straight into the studios, each floor, well, each other floor, because each other floor was studios.
They'll be refurbishing them.
It could be they're testing them. The idea was that they'd have, or the theory was that it would be a studio floor and then a quiet floor and then a studio floor and a quiet floor, but that never actually worked out in practice. And this would have been into the corridor of the 7th floor studio. As Martin was saying, this was a void. Well, not quite. Because
They used to be.
Because you can only appreciate this from the inside, I think, anyway. window is gone. But we can imagine it.
There's a window
There was a
there.
window behind here. There is a window.
There is, and you'll see it from below.
And this was the control cubicle for what is our drama, or was our drama studio 6A. And in fact, it's a studio that goes from, because we're on the 7th floor, goes from the floor below right up here. And this commanded a view of the studio.
Up until the 80s, it was just a listening room for actors to hang out in and could see what was happening in the studio below through that window.
And it's the only studio, or the only area that I know that did not conform to the standard numbering scheme.
No.
Because because it's H60, wasn't it?
Well, that's H60.
Oh, that's sorry,
behind
H60
there.
behind
In fact,
there.
behind this new window, which didn't used to be there.
Yeah. Because it was a recording channel associated with 6A, and they called it H60, even though it's on the
It's on the
7th
7th,
floor.
so that space was on the 7th. Well, yeah, that's H60.
But yes, it's a shame the windows aren't there.
You can see it from only remaining original doors.
Get out of your way.
What's behind them?
So what was the battery room?
Just full of
Lots and lots of stuff.
battery power for the things that needed.
Sound effects. And this can be a man whose responsibility it was to look after this lot.
Wow.
Rupert's gone up to the other end, so obviously we come back out the way we went in.
Somebody just don't make much noise.
These phones would be worth a bloody fortune. Bakelite phone.
Yeah, I think there's a lot in here that'd be worth some money.
Hold this lamp key.
And a selection of books for making page turning sounds.
Hello, that's Scotland Yard.
You've got to talk like that.
How many books do you need to make different page turning sounds?
All right.
Handbags to make handbag sounds.
Somewhere there's 2 bits of wood.
Health salts to make health
Yeah,
salts
make that
sounds.
Yeah. Those radio 6 things. So that was a piece of wood and
Big drama studio. These were studios on the side of it. I knew I should have got this here.
yeah, okay.
He has his uses.
Well, I
Oh,
don't have
and
many
already.
mixers to do.
Now, some of the stuff in here is a lot of archive stuff because it's being used by the heritage people as a store.
So that means we can't take it.
No.
There's the original Blacknophone, the steel tape recorder.
Blimey.
There was one in reception recently.
What's happened to these speakers?
Sorry?
What's going to happen to these
Oh, they'll
speakers?
be redeployed, don't you worry.
Okay.
That's dead, but then it was put in 1987, so it's done its time.
Those speakers are nice, said my telly.
Took many happy night shifts in there.
And this is more or less where the spiral staircase was that went up to the cubicle.
So the aircon's still on in here then?
And then into the drama studio. Because you said it wasn't the whole height.
Half of it used to, didn't it?
Well, half of it was, yes.
Tell me that.
Yeah, it's twins.
Yeah, the studio was here originally was just
To here.
this big, yeah.
And then on the 7th, what you're looking at there is the 7th floor, and that contains more studios from where we've just been.
Yeah, but they not
We received a present in 1940 that went in at the 5th floor went down and exploded. And part of that, the damage to the building, was that floor was taken out by the bomb. So the came and went, oh, it looks quite nice actually, so they didn't like it.
So we've got Mr. Hitler to thank for this, the studio. And you remember when we were on the 7th floor, we were in that control cubicle, that's
the
where
curtain.
the window was, and looked down into the studio.
One of the reasons why a lot of buildings was built, it was the most extraordinary mixture inside of the works of 3 different designers. One of very old Scottish one whose name I can't remember, and a very young mad Australian who went completely bonkers and did things like rolled gold foil on some of the areas, especially some of the listing rooms downstairs. It was superb, absolutely brilliant. It lasted about 10 years. It was over 80 years. It was over in 1932. The Luftwaffe bombed it.
Okay.
In 1940 and again in 1941.
No, we're getting to our broadcasting and to knock it down.
And the second bomb especially set up a large fire, which took out most of everything above the 3rd floor. The radio theatre survived, but all those fantastic interiors, a lot of the studios were destroyed, and actually for most of the war, everything above 3rd floor wasn't being used in this building. Most of the BBC broadcast was going on in the basement, in the bunker, or in other buildings up and down here, and also around the country.
That's true.
I mean, for many, many years, of course, the broadcasting was just one of many regional centres all contributing to the various programmes.
Don't know if you can get around there.
This is Tim walking down the drive to his little mansion.
And up the stairs, Tim.
And through the gap, through the wooden.
Which stair?
To give the impression of daylight inside a closed building, these were original, and have a strip light at the top, which probably wasn't a strip light originally, but anyway. And that was lit, and it gave the impression of light coming through a window.
But the architect made with the residents, he was allowed to build this.
Oh, you can really get the mansard roof.
Oh wow!
The door's fallen off its hinges.
Look at the cobwebs. How long since that opened? Guys.
Yeah, nasty old tiles, but
That is very old.
that's nice, isn't it?
That's Art Deco, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like kids going into mum's bedroom, isn't it? Well, this is not too tacky, is it?
This is.
I'm seeing Cheryl tomorrow. I can tell her I was in the boardroom. Yeah, very. No, I'm not being funny, but that table's nasty. This is right.
Brilliant.
That's a bit ordinary. Is this where the Exco meet then? Or is it the Board of Governors, is it? Board of Management.
Sure.
Yeah.
I see it. I'm the duty man.
And have you got your permit?
Crawford, where's your permit? Dick wants to see
Oh
it.
no.
Smile, old man.
This
Yeah.
is
Show me a camera.
so this is the
This is the
manager's
hub.
office. This is the hub of the building, and used to be the committee room or a committee room. So I think there were-
And the special operations centre.
and indeed
And
then
special
became
operations.
special operations.
Can I just ask a very penetrating and deeply sensitive question about this particular room?
We don't have any tea at all.
How the hell are you going to get this into room 1? This is one of the very few articles that won't change at all. This is all heritage stuff.
Oh my god. I think I've been in here once or twice.
Oh yes.
Yes, I've been in here.
So is other people, and we can have ourselves.
Anything worth nicking, Martin?
Oh wow, K Street, well done, Martin.
There's two clever things about this room. One is it's a floor and a half high, and the other one is it's a perfect semicircle. The outside of the building is not a perfect semicircle.
How do they do that then?
That's, if you look behind those curtains, the wall expands.
So to attend to vacuum cleaner point, the building must cover one vacuum pump in the basement or sub-basement. And then all around the building these flaps, which the cleaner then can poke a hose into to clean the floors.
The story goes that this is the one just outside room 101. If you read 1984, George Orwell writes about things called memory holes, I think they're called memory holes, where everybody was always was putting bits of paper and anything that was to do with history in the past was always thrown in the memory holes. And the theory is that he got the idea from the cleaner coming along, sucking up all the dirt and all the rubbish down this hole here. Little bit of history.
Now, I
The last show was no, it was
Yeah, the other thing, Mike.
So we realised this is newsroom. This is going to be the newsroom.
This
And
is.
the newsroom of the new building
Yeah.
is.
but that will have to be moved very carefully.
But
And
surely
in
it's
fact-
quite easy to take them away without breaking them.
Well, yes.
Just don't drop them.